deceive me.
What's he doing?
You ain't gonna save me.
He's lost.
He ain't the one who's lost.
Growing up.
You turn around. So go inside.
Daddy?
Just leave me be. Go inside.
I can't go this entire summer without playing baseball.
You're benched.
Came here to ask you what to do when I need to tell you something. You gave me a choice. I've been thinking real hard on it. You're right. God is number one. Thank you for all you taught me, Daddy.
One morning in 1,968 inches, the United States, a young boy named Rickey Hill was practicing baseball using a stick and rocks. It was known that since birth, his legs have been weak and disabled, and to be able to walk, he had to wear leg braces. However, despite his disability, Rickey loved baseball very much, and he had a dream to become a baseball player in the major leagues. Then, while he was seriously practicing, a girl named Gracie Shands suddenly approached him and said that his hit was not hard enough. Upon hearing that, Rickey felt challenged and immediately hit a rock as hard as he could.
Still think I'm cheating? See you later, alligator.
Gracie was amazed to see that. So, before leaving, she said that from now on they were dating, and no matter what, they had to get married when they were adults. After she left, Rickey's younger sister, Connie, came out of their house and told Rickey not to get too close to that girl because her father was a drunkard who liked to hit his family, and she was afraid his brother would die if he got too close to her. Then, from behind them, their father showed up and told them not to speak badly about other people. Their father was actually a church pastor named James Hill, and Rickey was his favorite because he was special. On the other hand, even though he had a disability in his legs, Rickey had a very good memory. He was even able to remember every verse in the Bible. Later that afternoon at the church, while James was giving a sermon, Earl smoked inside the church, and another woman spat on the floor. Seeing how they didn't respect the place, James scolded them and made a comment about their behavior by telling Rickey to recite a Bible verse about people who have no manners and zero attitude. Upon hearing that, Earl did not accept this and said that there was no reason for him to listen to a pastor who was poorer than him. Despite the harsh words, James handled the situation calmly and kicked Earl out of the church to keep the session undisturbed.
Now, if you knew a thing about wildcatting, you'd appreciate.
I am your pastor. The Lord's house look and smell like Satan's saloon.
After the service, Rickey invited Connie and their oldest brother Robert to play baseball with rocks. Robert then threw the rock and Rickey hit it with a wood so hard that it flew so far. But then when they heard the sound of breaking glass, Robert panicked and told his sibling to run. However, Rickey did not want to run. His father had taught them that they should not run from problems, so he would take responsibility. The three then went to check what happened, and it turned out that the rock had hit the windshield of a car belonging to a man named Ray. After explaining that they were playing baseball and accidentally hit the car's windshield, Ray looked surprised instead of angry. Then, he asked Rickey to hit a rock at his car window once more from where he played before because he did not believe it, thinking that it was impossible for someone like Rickey to hit the rock that far. However, when he saw with his own eyes how Rickey hit the rock, and it landed perfectly on the windshield once more, Ray was very amazed. He then told Rickey to come find him again when he was older and promised that he would be Rickey's manager until he could play in the major leagues. That night, Rickey's family ate dinner with only a small piece of bread on their plate, showing how poor they were. At that moment, Rickey's grandmother seemed very upset. She asked James why he scolded the church members for smoking when he knew the family was poor and that their family could only eat because of the members' donations. She also asked if he had forgotten that they needed that money to buy Rickey's leg braces for the rest of his life. When he heard his grandmother's words, Rickey was shocked. He was told by his father that he would be healed soon and the braces would be removed, but his grandmother's words said otherwise. Feeling disappointed, Rickey went to his room and read the Bible. Shortly after, Robert came and gave him a stack of baseball cards that he had bought with the pocket money he saved for 3 months. Then, while they were looking at the cards, James came in, so they quickly hid the cards inside the Bible because it turned out that their father never liked it when Rickey played baseball. However, James still found them and scolded both of them, especially Rickey. He knew that Rickey loved baseball, but he told him to be realistic, knowing that Rickey had trouble even just walking, so running was impossible, meaning he would never be able to play. He then warned that if he kept trying, he would only disappoint himself, as he believed that instead of playing baseball, it was better for him to become a pastor. He was sure that with his talent to memorize the Bible, Rickey could be a great pastor in the future. A few days later, when the family went to the church, they were met by angry members who stopped their car. Then, before James could get out of the car, Earl approached him and told him and his family to leave the town. It turned out that the incident at the church, the members were offended and wanted a new pastor. To make matters worse for James and his family, since the family's house was paid for by donations from the members asked them to move out immediately. Knowing he had no power against them, James could only follow their orders. However, his wife was fed up and got out of the car. Then, in front of all the members, she said her husband was a good man who always put the church and the members before his own children. She told them they were cruel for bullying her family and kicking them out just because they were corrected. Then, she said that it was not her husband who was unfit to be their pastor, but they were unfit to be guided by him.
Now be quick. We need that house back.
Helen?
And given his life and happiness to serve the Lord. Because your pastor asked you to behave like the God-fearing people he believed you were, you do not deserve James Hill.
The next morning, after packing their things, Rickey and his family left. On the way, James saw Earl come out of the bar very drunk and was about to drive his car home. Because he was worried that Earl might get into an accident, James rushed to stop him, saying that it was better if he drove him home. However, instead of accepting the offer, Earl got angry and challenged him to a fight. However, James succeeded in controlling him and taking him home. Then, just when he was about to leave, James saw that Gracie's mother had bruises on her face. She then told him that she got these injuries because she tried to defend him and his family in front of her husband the night before. She knew that James was a good man, and that although he was not appreciated now, people would feel regret later. She knew that one day, the church members would realize how noble James was. After hearing that, James thanked her and left. After that, Rickey's family continued traveling for many hours. But then, on a quiet road, their car ran out of gas. James felt truly hopeless, so he went outside to pray for God's help.
With you, all things are possible, Lord, please.
But then, one of the tires popped, and that surprised everyone who was sleeping inside the car, while James became even more frustrated. Seeing that, all of the family members came out to try to calm him down. At that moment, Robert said that they would be okay, and right after he said that, the thunder came and the rain began pouring. While laughing in distress, James then said that they were the unluckiest family in the world. Everyone then started laughing with him and hugged each other in the rain. Shortly after, as they waited for the rain to stop inside the car, an old woman in a luxury car stopped and offered help. She then invited the whole family to stop by her house. Soon, when they arrived, the children watched television while the adults talked with the old woman and her husband. After hearing James's story, the old man asked if James wanted to be a pastor in Bowie, Texas, saying that his brother was looking for a pastor there. He said that even though it was just a small town, the people there were kind. Without thinking twice, James immediately said yes, feeling that this was a chance God had given to him. The next morning, the family went to Bowie, Texas. As soon as they arrived, everyone stared at the house where they would live and realized how bad its condition was, and to make it worse, it was next to an abandoned building. The town official then explained that although the house was ugly, it was strong enough to survive a tornado. Then, when James asked about the spooky building next to it, the man said the building was an old morgue. Everyone was clearly shocked to hear that. The next day, while walking around the town, Robert and Rickey saw some children playing baseball, so Rickey asked if they could join the game. However, one of the children, Quinn, refused, saying that he didn't want to play with a disabled boy. Fortunately, Rickey was not offended, but instead, he challenged Quinn by saying that if he could hit the ball, then he and his brother could play. Quinn quickly agreed, thinking Rickey wouldn't be able to hit the ball with his condition. On the first throw, Quinn purposely threw the ball low until Rickey fell down because his leg braces were too stiff for him to move. Because of that, Rickey desperately broke the braces using a baseball bat to make it easier for him to move. Even though he was in pain, Rickey could now move more freely, and soon, he succeeded in hitting the ball very far.
Screw you guys, I ain't playing with no cripple.
Seeing that, Quinn became very angry, and he still refused to let Rickey play with them. Robert did not accept this and defended his brother, but before things got worse, a boy named Jason separated them. He then told them that he and his friends were members of a baseball club in town, so he suggested that if they wanted to join, they should try to register for the team the next day. That night during dinner, James was very happy to see Rickey walking without his leg braces. He was so happy that he invited everyone to go out for ice cream. The next day, Rickey and Robert came to sign up for the baseball club. Besides the two of them, there were also several other children who wanted to register as well. The coach then gave them a registration form that had to be signed by a parent. Upon knowing this, Rickey felt weak because he was sure that his father would forbid it, so Robert suggested that it was better to just ask for their mother's signature and not tell their father. However, Rickey did not want to be disobedient, so he would face his father no matter what. That night, Rickey tried to talk to his father about the baseball team, and as he expected, his father did not agree. Even though Rickey tried to convince him that his legs were healed, his father still did not give permission. Instead, James reminded him that since birth, doctors said Rickey would be paralyzed. He said that being able to walk was already a blessing, and he should not hope for more. Rickey was disappointed to hear that. The next day after the church service, Rickey's mother gave him a letter from Gracie. It turned out that Rickey and Gracie had been sending letters to each other for a long time. A few days later, on a night during Thanksgiving, all the family members gave James a surprise. They bought burgers, fries, and sodas to thank him for his hard work to support the family. He always bought food for them, so today it was their turn to give. Then, when James wanted to cut the burger to share it, they quickly refused, as they wanted him to enjoy it all by himself. Upon hearing that, James felt very touched, and he began to eat the burger while holding back his tears.
Well, we wanted to get something special instead.
What? It's my second favorite.
You take care of us all year, so today we want to take care of you.
The next day at the field, Jason was confused about why Rickey and Robert did not join the baseball club. Then, after they explained the situation, Jason suggested that they should just forge the signature and said that the coach would never know. Robert also supported that idea and said that his brother should not waste his talent. He was willing to sacrifice and said that he would forge the signature by pretending to be the parent so Rickey could register. Convinced, Rickey finally agreed, and they started practicing. That night, the coach came to the house to speak with Rickey's parents. He said that when he saw Rickey practicing that afternoon, he was amazed, saying that Rickey had incredible talent and he wanted to recruit Rickey as a main player to compete in the junior league. James was confused upon hearing that, but when the coach showed him the registration form, he finally realized what had happened. His signature had been forged, so he explained that he had never given Rickey permission to play baseball. Upon hearing that, the coach was disappointed and said that before he coached baseball, he had also been a pastor for 13 years. He said he had seen many miracles that were beyond human logic. Now, he decided to live his life the way it was. He then suggested that James should be more supportive of his own son's talent. After the coach left, James quickly called for Rickey to explain things. However, because he did not want his younger brother to be punished, Robert admitted that he was the one who forged the signature and that Rickey did nothing wrong. He only wanted to make his brother's dream come true. Upon hearing that, James became even angrier. The grandmother soon came to defend her two grandsons after hearing the commotion, but James did not care. He was fed up and said that God had given Rickey two talents to be closer to him and not to play baseball. He even went as far as saying that a disabled boy like Rickey must be realistic. Now, he told Rickey it was up to him to choose his own destiny.
Daddy, it should be me!
You deceived me.
What's he doing?
You ain't gonna save me.
He's lost.
He ain't the one who's lost.
Growing up.
You turn around. So go inside.
Daddy?
Just leave me be. Go inside.
The next day, Rickey and Robert had a discussion. Rickey said that even though their father opposed him, he still wanted to play baseball. However, Robert told him that as long as they did not have their father's approval, the coach would not let Rickey play, and he would only stay on the bench. So the two of them had to find a way to convince their father. Fortunately, Rickey found the answer to that problem. In the afternoon, Rickey met his father at the church and said that he now knew which path he would choose. He said that his father's words from the night before were correct and that God had given him two talents. He also knew the reason his father wanted him to be a pastor so much was so that he could always be close to God. However, he knew that he could also be close to God in baseball. He said that every time he swung the bat, he felt something extraordinary, as if God were guiding him. He knew that if a disabled boy could hit the ball harder than other normal children, it must be God's help. So, in every baseball hit, he always felt thankful and remembered God. So, after reflecting on it, Rickey finally decided to live both destinies through baseball, and he told his father not to worry because just because he did not become a pastor did not mean he would stop preaching. He would continue to preach and spread religious teachings while being a baseball player. Upon hearing that, James sighed but finally gave his permission.
You gave me a choice. I've been thinking real hard on it. I feel his perfection guiding me when I swing that bat.
Project what?
In his perfection, he handed me two gifts, each blessing to his glory. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I choose both. Thank you for all you taught me, Daddy.
7 years passed. Now Rickey had become a baseball player and was competing in the Division II league. That evening, after a game, he was greeted by his two siblings. Ray was also there, and since Rickey became a baseball player, Ray had been his manager. Then, when Rickey was about to go home, a girl suddenly called him from behind, and it turned out to be Gracie. He was very happy upon seeing her because they had not met in a long time. At that moment, thinking they needed privacy, Connie and Robert said goodbye and went home first, leaving them alone to catch up on their lives. But then, Gracie's friend arrived, and he was a big fan of Rickey. Rickey then invited them both to have dinner at his house. At dinner, while they were chatting, James arrived. He looked so happy when he saw Gracie, so he invited her and her friend to attend a service at church the next morning. However, Gracie's friend could not go because Rickey's team had a baseball game the next day, and he wanted to watch that instead, saying that he would visit the church some other time. Suddenly, the atmosphere became quiet, and James walked away. 2 days later, Rickey invited Gracie for a walk. Along the way, Gracie said that she would be staying in town for quite some time, so they would have a lot of time to meet. Then, thinking it was the right time, Rickey shared that he still kept all the letters that she had sent him. It turned out that Gracie did the same. In that moment, Rickey was brave enough to express his feelings, and fortunately, Gracie still felt the same for him. Their face came closer, and they were about to kiss, but then Rickey felt that his back hurt. Gracie panicked, thinking he had injured himself, but Rickey calmed her down, saying that he was just tired from games. The next day, Ray said that he planned to call a talent scout to watch Rickey's game. He explained that if the scout was impressed, there was a great chance that Rickey could join the major leagues. Upon hearing that, Rickey felt very excited because his dream was close to coming true. During the next match, the scout that Ray called arrived to watch, and when the game was about to start, one of the opposing players approached Rickey. Surprisingly, it was Quinn, and he still held a grudge against Rickey. He then said that he would make Rickey feel embarrassed in that game to pay for what he had done to him years ago. The match started soon after, and Quinn threw the ball so fast that it was hard for Rickey to hit the first one. The second one was the same, but then he finally hit the third throw and scored a home run. The game continued, and on one occasion, the ball flew to Rickey, but when he tried to catch it, his leg tripped badly on a grass sprinkler. Fortunately, even though he was in pain, he still managed to catch the ball. In the end, thanks to Rickey's amazing performance, his team won, and Quinn lost again. The next day, Rickey visited the hospital to check on his ankle. Unfortunately, the doctor said that his leg was broken and needed immediate surgery because if it was left alone for too long, it could get worse, and he might not be able to walk again. Moreover, the doctor also explained that Rickey had a spinal disorder, where his bones aged much faster than those of a normal person. He explained that based on the checkup, Rickey's bones were like those of a 60-year-old man. Rickey and his parents were utterly shocked, especially when his father asked how much the surgery would cost, and the doctor answered that it was around $7,000. That night, Rickey talked to Gracie about his condition. Earlier, James said he would try to ask for donations from the church members to pay for the surgery. However, Rickey knew that it was impossible to collect that much money in such a short time. Upon hearing that, Gracie said she would also help by asking for donations at her workplace. She knew that Rickey had a lot of fans in town, so she was sure that the money would be collected quickly. Day after day passed as they continued to try to gather the funds, but unfortunately, they only collected $2,000 until one afternoon, while the family was gathered together, Ray arrived and showed them a newspaper, saying that in 2 months there would be a selection for the major league located near Rickey's old house. He believed that if Rickey joined, he would definitely get in, so he should go there. However, Rickey felt pessimistic because the surgery money was not even halfway collected, and he would still need time to heal. Upon hearing that, Ray suddenly took out a check and said that he would lend the money for the surgery. He then said that Rickey could pay him back later after he joined the major leagues and received a salary. Rickey was happy to hear that, but James immediately forbade him from joining the selection, saying that from now on he had to stop playing baseball. Ray then tried to convince him to give Rickey one more chance, but James still refused, leading to an argument between them. In the middle of the argument, the grandmother was fed up and told them to stop interfering with her grandson's future. She then took the check from Ray's hand and gave it to Gracie to keep for Rickey's surgery. A few days later, Rickey's surgery was finished, and he only had to wait for his recovery. However, because of his bone disorder, the doctor told him that his recovery might take longer. One night after being allowed to go home, Rickey invited Gracie to watch a movie. Then, after the movie, while they were eating, Rickey said that he was uncertain about the selection. He really wanted to play in the major leagues, but every time he tried, his path was never smooth and was full of obstacles. and that made him wonder if God actually did not allow him to play baseball and if he should stop. Upon hearing that, Gracie told him that the Rickey she knew would never give up despite many trials. She then asked why he was being weak now, and she was clearly disappointed. In the end, she got upset and left Rickey alone. On the way home, Rickey met Robert who, without saying much, told him to get into his car and go home quickly. When they arrived at the house soon after, they saw that their grandmother was lying on the bed and looking very weak. It turned out that she had been very sick for a long time. By looking at her condition, everyone realized that her life would not last much longer. At that moment, their grandmother gave a message to James, saying that she knew he was a good man, but from that night on, she wanted him to be a great man. She wanted him to support whatever path in life her grandson chose. Seeing how his mother's condition was, James, who was usually stubborn, promised to fulfill her request. On the other hand, Rickey, who had almost given up, finally felt sure about continuing to play baseball.
All I wanted was to breed horses, James. But tonight I'm gonna ask you to be a great one. Give your son his dream. All right then. Next week, sling that stone. Bring down Goliath.
Faith, hope, love. And the greatest of these is love.
A few days later, their grandmother eventually passed away, and a week later, after his leg healed, Rickey began playing baseball again. That day, in the middle of practice, Ray came and reminded him that the schedule for the Major League selection was the next day, saying that there would be a famous talent scout named Red Murph. He then warned Rickey to be careful because Red was a perfectionist, and if someone made even a small mistake, they could fail the selection immediately. The next day, the day of the selection arrived. During the briefing before the event began, Red explained to the players that there would be different stages of the tests. In the first test, the players would be judged by the committee. The rules were simple, as they were only forbidden from talking to the committee members. Then, if they passed the first test, they would move on to the second test at the field nearby, where he himself would be their judge. Before the selection test started, while the players were getting ready, Rickey met Jason, who was also taking the test. At that moment, Jason told him that after losing the game against Rickey's team back then, Quinn had retired from baseball. A short time later, the selection test began. However, because his leg wasn't fully healed yet, Rickey still felt pain, and it made it hard for him to run. The committee quickly noticed that and told him to leave, but Rickey begged them to allow him to hit the ball. Fortunately, the committee permitted him, and he prepared himself, ready to hit the balls. He then showed how talented he was, as he hit the balls so far that they reached all the way to the field where Red was waiting. When he saw the balls coming one after another, Red was confused because the other field was very far from his location. It turned out that Rickey purposely hit the balls toward Red to get his attention. Unfortunately, after he finished hitting the balls, Rickey did not see Red coming toward him. His heart was broken, as he hoped to see Red came at him and praise him, but the reality was not as he expected. He felt frustrated, and threw away his baseball equipment before leaving for his old house, the place where he first dreamed of becoming a baseball player. Then, once he felt calmer, he returned to the selection site. There, he took the baseball glove that he had thrown earlier, and in that moment, he finally saw something written on it. It was a message written by his father, and it was a verse from the Bible about honoring God. Suddenly, Rickey realized that he was the one who had to respect Red, and he was the one who had to go and meet the man, so he decided to find him. When they met, Rickey spoke with confidence and said that he would become the best baseball hitter in the world and asked for a chance. Upon hearing that, Red answered that Rickey should come back next year after his leg was healed, but Rickey remained stubborn and wanted his chance now, saying that he could prove that his leg injury was not an obstacle for him. Hearing that, Red was curious, so he offered a deal, saying that there would be a baseball game the next night and Rickey would be the hitter for both teams. However, if he failed to hit, he would never accept Rickey into the major leagues ever again. Despite the high stakes, Rickey had made up his mind, and without any doubt, he accepted the challenge. The next afternoon, Rickey's family was busy getting ready. The news that Rickey would be the hitter for both teams had spread throughout the city, and everyone planned to watch the game except James, because he had to lead the sermon at the church that night. Not only that, but he had never watched a single one of his son's games, and he insisted that he wouldn't come. His wife then approached him with his lunch and said that half of the church members would not attend his service because they wanted to watch the game, so he should go watch the game too. However, James did not care at all. Seeing his attitude, his wife got really annoyed and slammed his plate before leaving.
Half your congregation isn't going to be there.
James quickly followed her to calm her down, but she kept crying while asking how long he would refuse to believe in Rickey. She said their son had proven himself many times, and if he succeeded, he would be the first person from their small town to join the major leagues. She then said the whole town believed in him. Even God believed in him by giving him the chance. So, if he believed in God, he had to believe in his son too. Upon hearing those words, James felt very shocked and deeply affected.
Your boy, he's not a freak. He's special. He will never walk, and he ran. How many miracles do you need? And he is the best.
That night at the church, James spoke to the members about Rickey, saying that he loved all of his children very much, but his feelings for Rickey were different. He said that back when Rickey was a child, his body was very fragile, yet the boy loved to play baseball and kept on practicing every day. However, because he did not want him to get hurt, James tried to forbid him, even though he knew Rickey was talented. He had supported him becoming a pastor instead of a baseball player because he believed that was the destiny God had given him. However, he realized that he was wrong. He admitted that he had forced his own will on his son. So now, he asked for permission from the members to go and watch Rickey's game so he could finally support him. Meanwhile, in the field, the game had finally begun. The announcer then introduced Rickey Hill as a kid who had overcome a lot to prove himself. Soon, Red went out to the mound and told Rickey that it was his time. He then told the pitchers not to take it easy on him. From the start, Rickey immediately faced fastballs and curveballs while he batted for both teams as part of the challenge. It was hard that he missed 2 chances. But then, he finally got the hang of it and hit the ball. However, seeing that, Red decided to level up the game. He asked for the pitchers to be replaced with professionals, as he wanted to see if Rickey could handle the best. But once again, Rickey proved himself in front of everyone. He then replaced the pitcher again with a major league player, and everyone thought this player would easily strike Rickey out. The professional pitcher threw a fastball, but Rickey missed the ball. This was exactly what Red needed to see to know what Rickey was made of.
This is a guy who's used to putting out the game. Swing and a miss.
However, on the next pitch, Rickey was hit by the ball and got injured.
Foul ball down the right field line. Oh no, high and tight, dusted him.
He was in great pain, so Red walked over to him and told him to give up. However, Rickey refused to give up and said that God was with him. He wanted to continue. On the very next play, Rickey dug his foot and readied himself. Then, when the ball was thrown, he finally hit a home run.
Here it comes. Swung on. Hill. Believe it. In the 11th at bat after getting hit. Center. This ball is...
Then, while he was running around the bases, he saw his father standing at the edge of the field, looking at him with great pride. He finally got the support from his father. The support that he always wanted all this time. Long story short, Rickey eventually joined the Montreal Expos and played for them for 4 years before retiring due to a health problem. He also had a marriage at home plate with his father officiating the ceremony. Then, after retiring, Rickey continued his life as a coach, helping young talents discover their potential.
In the morning light of 68, a boy with rocks and a wooden stick. Iron braces holding up the weight, but his heart was moving far too quick. They told him, Rickey, son, you'll never run. But he saw the diamond under the sun. While a preacher's words filled the dusty air, he found his gospel in a player's stare. Broken glass in a car window pane, he didn't run. He stood through the rain. A manager's promise, a father's fear. 2 different worlds he's trying to steer. Oh, let the rock fly over the hill, beyond the braces and the quiet will. They say it's impossible, they say you're weak, but God gave you a gift, you don't have to speak. Just one swing to clear the pain, to prove that your dream wasn't built in vain. The sound of the wood, the flight of the stone, you'll never walk in this field alone.